Good evening, everyone. I'm Patrick Chamberlain. I'm the Director of Artistic Planning for the New Jersey Symphony Orchestra. And it's wonderful to be joined by two phenomenal New Jersey Symphony Orchestra musicians. And my pleasure to welcome our bass trombonist, Vince Belford, and our acting principal percussionist, Jim Musto. Jimmy, as we all refer to him. How's it going, guys? Welcome. So I have to remark that both of you have remarkable backdrops with instruments behind you. Could you each talk about these look like home studios? Is there anything you want to share about what we're looking at? Maybe we'll start with Vince and then Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm down in a finished basement, kind of, and I kind of commandeered this room, and it is a studio. I use it for a recording studio and a photo studio because I do lots of photography, and I'm in the process of scanning negatives that go back 50 years with my little Nikon scanner, and this is all the stuff. I'm amused when I see all the string players and the wind players in very elegant looking home backgrounds and all that. And of course, brass and percussion, we're in garages and cellars and whatever.
How about you, Jimmy? Where are you and what's behind you?
Well, it's funny Vince should mention that, but this is actually the nicer part of my studio. The more organized and the more looking. Some of it just like something up. But, that's the nature of, it's so equipment sensitive. Percussion is not an instrument, field of instruments. There are hundreds of instruments. And I certainly don't have everything, but I have a lot. And to go somewhere. So it goes down here. This is my, there's a man, this is a musician cave in my house. There are other instruments in various parts, in my studio, in my garage, upstairs in the attic, I have different instruments. But the things that I want the most immediate access to are in this room. This is where I do, my recordings for, the couch concerts or new NJSO at home. So, it's a great place for me to be able to come to, and just have my instruments so accessible, when I need them, when I want them, when I just want to play something, when I would want to dig something out off a shelf that I haven't looked at in years and play it, it's down here. So, it's convenient for me. And my family just loves the idea of me being in the house playing percussion all the time.
Wow. How many instruments do you think you have in the studio, if you had to guess, Jimmy?
I don't know, maybe there are 500 things down here, just like little things, it's just like, just one little thing like this, sitting down here, it's like, oh, I forgot I had that's up in the top shelf there, so I pull it down, and that's what I did today, for the little El Sistema workshop that we did. I brought down some things that they may never see. And,
awesome.
That's it makes it interesting. It draws the attention for people, so.
Fantastic. And we'll start with Vince on this question, and then go to Jimmy. What have you guys been doing these past couple of months? Obviously, we're all deeply missing being together on stage at NJPAC and our venues throughout the state and making live music together. But how have you been spending your time, and have you stayed engaged with and connected to music? What have you been doing? We'll start with Vince and then Jimmy.
Okay, well, aside from music, I've been doing a lot of walking. And I've lost a few pounds, which is great. So I'm making a thing out of that. And what I'm doing down here a lot to keep myself in shape is I've been making trombone quartets and one-man band things where I play, I'll play like a trombone quartet, and I'll add the guitar and the bass part and play, the rhythm section. So not so much for, public consumption, but it just keeps me going and in shape. And then I'm doing my photography and things like that. So I'm pretty busy, actually. Busy doing nothing, as they would say.
What about you, Jimmy? What have you been up to these past couple of months?
Well, actually, probably more music in a different way than I would have done if the symphony were in session. I guess people have seen a lot of the videos that I've done, for the orchestra and for myself. recording things that I've wanted to do for a while, ethnic percussion things. And, it's just been a weird experience not actually being able to do that with other people. But yeah, I'm staying very busy, practicing a lot because, when you do a live concert, things go by. When you're doing a recording, you cannot put it out there with wrong notes. It needs to be really tight. So actually, doing these concerts, these couch concerts and NJSO at home, these really honed my playing. I mean, it just really has sharpened the way I approach playing something. Like, this is it. This is the one time it has to be perfect this time. So it's, in that respect, it's kind of been good actually having this time to just stay home and practice. But I did something with Vince and Vernon Post. We did a little thing together. So, but all these things require more time than they seem like they would when you,
Yeah, I'll say.
doing the recordings and making sure you're dressed correctly, the camera's on and the microphones are on. They all require some time. So it's been quite a process.
Great. Well, tonight we're going to listen together to two fantastic pieces of music, two just phenomenal showpieces for the power and sound of the symphony orchestra. Respighi's Fountains and Pines of Rome. These performances date from January 2018 with our music director Xian Zhang conducting. And I wonder if each of you could talk a little bit about what you love about this music, what you love. You each certainly have plenty to do in this repertoire. So Vince, what do you love about playing Respighi?
Well, I kind of have a 6-degree of separation thing. My teacher was the great John Clark. He's, bass trombones are not noted as household names pretty much, but he was the bass trombonist with Toscanini's orchestra, the NBC Symphony, then later the Met. But I have a lot of Toscanini stories that he told me. And Toscanini was probably the greatest conductor of Respighi ever. They were buds in a way, but then Respighi was very right-wing politically and Toscanini was very left politically. So, but he still played his music. So it's the power of music, and so I have that. And Shen brings to these pieces a lot of what Toscanini, or as my teacher called him, the old man, did. She likes quick tempos. She likes excitement. She's like a little tornado up there on the stage sometimes, and but all controlled at the same time. So you can't. Who could ask for more, in a conductor?
Yeah, and what I'm struck by is Shen. You can tell that she spent a lot of time working and conducting in Italy. Before she came to the NJSO, she was music director of the Verdi Orchestra in Milan, and there's that sense of Italianate style that's so natural in her music making, and you hear that when she conducts Respighi, when she conducts Verdi. She really gets this music. It's in her bones and in her blood.
I think that that first concert when we did the Pines, was that 2009, you said?
Her debut with the symphony was with Pines of Rome in 2009, yeah.
If I remember, at least somewhere in the early times, she did La Forza del Destino Overture, which is, starts out with a big trombone chorale. And I was thinking right away, I said, well, she can do Italian music. This is, had that fire and excitement that, and all that syncopation that Verdi uses, and just great.
Yeah.
Jimmy, what do you love about Fountains and Pines of Rome?
Well, certainly the orchestral color is just unsurpassed. Respighi had a relationship with Rimsky-Korsakov, and I think because of that, how can you not stand orchestrate? If you studied under Rimsky-Korsakov, I mean, the contrast in colors are just so dramatic. Yeah, that in itself is very Italian. I mean, it's like ornate. It is like the fountains. You can picture the fountains. The first movie, you could picture the morning. The kind of misty sense of a light fog in early morning, and the Triton, the power, the brass. But I don't think anything can match what he did in Pines of Rome. Just the whole the tone painting, the first movement, the children at the Villa Borghese, which is so joyful, but yet it's kind of cacophonic. There's a lot of commotion. It's chaotic, and then it reaches its peak, and all of a sudden you go from room to tomb, and you are probably at one of the darkest moments in music when you get to those catacombs. There is so much to be said for that transition alone. Just, the beauty of the trumpet solo in that movement, that kind of elegiac trumpet solo, that is gorgeous. And then the next movement, the Janiculum where the birds, the clarinet solo, and then the birds come in. By the way, the last concert, I had to do the bird, the recording of the birds for that. And that's always very nerve-wracking because, it used to be a phonograph record. You would put the needle on the record at one time. Now it's you push a button, and you're not really sure, the monitor, you're not really sure the words are actually coming out. And, you want to make sure you're at the right place in the CD when you put it on. Someone didn't come over in the meantime and accidentally, start it in the wrong place. So that's, again, what a concept, to use this word. And then, of course, the last, as Edgar Allan Poe, to the glory that was Greece, to the grandeur that was Rome. That last movement, your heart jumps out of your chest. That right from the beginning, it's almost inaudible. And by the end, you want to stand up and you want to salute. It's just so dramatic. One of my favorite pieces, if you can't tell. And I just love the way Xian does. That connection as a performer with her as a conductor, it just wrings you out. You're exhausted after that performance.
There were two licks in each piece that are trombone audition pieces. And one is the Catacombs. And trombones have traditionally from Monteverdi through Mozart, all the way up to Respighi and further. Trombones always play like supernatural, dark kind of things, besides the big, loud, bombastic stuff too. But in the Catacombs, you have to go from, you're playing this Gregorian chant,
sure,
and with the bass trombone and the second trombone in octaves, with all kind of intonation, pitfalls there. But that's why it's in an audition, because you play that lick, and then right later, the whole brass section, and the trombones are blaring the same chant, but like at top volume. So you have to go from like the most delicate little, down low thing to just blasting your brains out. It's just a great thing. And then in the fountains, there's that, I don't know what sections, dum 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 dum, that pentatonic scale. That is probably the hardest lick ever. ever. And the thing is, I think Derek was playing at the time, and it was what a pleasure, because he had that thing down so well that I just sort of laid my thing on top of his octave, and he let him carry the ball there.
Yeah.
But that's one killer of a piece, I'll tell you.
Absolutely.
Speaking of repertoire, the glockenspiel part in the first movement of Pines has been on every major repertoire list for the last 75 years. It's always asked for. It's one of the most challenging glockenspiel parts. So, he knew how to write. He wrote instruments, at the threshold of what they could do.
And I'm sure every movie composer, John Williams, Miklos Rosa, they all just swipe everything from him. Although Respighi got a lot of his, like that whole thing in Pines and the Fountains, very come right out of Petrushka, because painting a big sound stage of all these little things that are happening here and there, and little vignettes, musical vignettes. So it's very, very much just out of that period of Stravinsky, not his later, neoclassic, but about early ballets.
Well, and it's music that's scored for a huge orchestra. There are a lot of people on stage when these pieces are programmed. It's triple winds, it's a expanded brass section, tons of percussion, organ, celeste, and piano. It's just a lot of people. And you can't talk about Pines of Rome without talking about the last movement with the extra brass that are placed around the auditorium. Of course, one of the great challenges and joys of the New Jersey Symphony is figuring out where those brass are going to go each venue that we play in. Just tremendous. And of course, it's a piece that's very spatial. The trumpet solo is played off stage. Like Jimmy mentioned, there's the recording of the bird song that is played that comes through the house sound system. It's really a surround sound Technicolor experience. What else do you love about Respighi? Is there any other moment in this piece that kind of stands out in your mind, whether you play it or not?
I like the very end of Fountains.
Mm-hmm.
Was it just a harp?
Yeah.
And is there a celeste in there? I can't remember.
Yes, celeste
it's
at the
so
very end.
mellow. It's so ethereal and far away. Like you're just kind of like fading out into somewhere. You know, I just love that section.
A single chime note that's like a bell tolling
Yeah,
in
in
the valley. Yeah, that's
Belford kind of thing.
Yeah, there are some gorgeous moments all around the orchestra. So I mean, you get swept into the whole. You know, you're not just an individual anymore. And I mean, I think in general that as a professional musician, that's what winds up happening. You just become a part of a unit that is no longer just thinking individually about your part, but where you are in the music. You know, what you're doing to shape the overall architecture of the music. And yeah, Pines just has, and of course Fountains too. I mean, they're both so colorful, and there's so many great moments, some great solo moments. That clarinet solo in the third movement, in the Janiculum movement of Pines is lovely. I mean, God, it sings.
It's one of those just time-stoppingly beautiful moments, and it's brilliantly played by our principal clarinet, Carl Herman, in this recording.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to hearing that. One of the other things that was interesting about these performances, and I'd never heard this done before, but Xian played Fountains and Pines, which are often on the same program together, but she played them without a break. She almost treated it like one breath, like a Respighi symphony, I remember her saying to me. She took no pause and just went from the still, misty ending of Fountains into the blast that is Pines. Had either of you experienced these works kind of played in that way together in your career as a musician, and what did you think of her decision to do that?
Well, I think it's a great idea. I don't know about chop-wise.
Yeah.
But it was a great idea.
You know, I just said how we don't think about like our individual, and Vince just refutes that, saying, "Hey, well, it's a personal problem I have with that, but otherwise musically it worked great."
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, logistically,
Yes.
from a percussion standpoint.
Well, just think of Garth, having to play, that principal trumpet.
Yeah, logistically, Pines, Fountains doesn't have as many players. I think there were 4 percussionists in Fountains, but then you need 5 for the first movement of Pines. So you have to have 5 people ready to play at their station, because it starts out, right away. You really don't have time to start, switching positions. So you need to be set up logistically. It just needs to be planned in advance. It worked. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it did.
Excellent. Well, I'm really looking forward to listening to these pieces with each of you tonight. I wonder if before we get to the music, if each of you could just share what you miss most about the New Jersey Symphony Orchestra and playing together as an ensemble, and what you're most looking forward to when we can safely return to the stage. We'll start with Vince and then Jimmy.
Okay. Well, I'll just pick one thing. I've been in the orchestra for 50 years. And I think Vernon started about 5 years later. So the trombone section is probably the longest running section in the orchestra that's, together. And strangely enough, we're all from New Jersey. Now, the symphony is like an international symphony. I mean, there are people from all over the world in it. And by just some total, freak of nature, we have three trombone players from New Jersey, from the same area of New Jersey, as a matter of fact. 3 different music schools, though. So you have Eastman, Manhattan, and Juilliard. and the greatest teachers that, you know, in each of those in the schools. So and we have, I would say, about what do you call it? What's the word I'm trying to think of?
ESP, right?
Yeah, ESP. Communication. I mean, you know, after that many years, you know, nobody has to say, you know, we play that a little shorter or longer, whatever. It just gels, you know. And that's one of the things I really, really miss. And then Derek is so fabulous. And then of course he left, and I think he might be coming back. I'm not sure. So I'm looking forward to that too. And then the main thing is the hang. You know, I mean, besides the music, is you go, you have a place to go, you work. In a chorus line, they asked, what's the girl? He says, well, what do you want? She was a principal dancer, but now she's just auditioning for the chorus line. He said, well, what is it that you want to do? And she says, it's a place to go to. And, you know, and I love it, you know, and that's what it is. You know, you go there, you have all kind of people that you know and respect and love and do things together with. It's great.
Wonderful. And what about you, Jimmy?
Well, I mean, the sentiment is pretty much what Vincent just shared. You know, I just think that knowing that when you're backstage before the concert, you're walking around, you're getting set up, and the other musicians are there, you're all there for this common purpose. You're all going to do something different, but you're all going to create a common goal. You know, we're all there to work for something together. And it's just, it's so exciting, you know, to see your colleagues walking around and you say hello to them. And you know, you don't say really good luck, but you know that that's the intention. It's like, have a great time, you know, do your best, and you know, let's really just blow the roof off the place, you know, by the end of tonight. And you know, give the audience like something that they came here for. You know, it goes beyond you know, a job. It's not about that anymore. When you're on that stage, even before you come out to play, just that energy. I'd be back in the walkway warming up, like, you know, on a drum pad, and Vince and Vernon will walk by. Us, you know, we'll tell a joke, you know, we'll just say something, and you know, just to keep the atmosphere light and fun. And then it's just so it's just a great connection to other people, that, you know, you are doing this thing that not everybody does. You know, this is a special thing that you're bringing. You're bringing beauty to the world, and it's a gift.
Excellent. Well, thank you both so much for joining us this evening. Stay tuned. The music will start shortly, and Vince, Jimmy, and I will be giving our thoughts and comments about the performance as it happens. Feel free to ask questions in the comments, and we'll try to answer them as best as we can. And thanks again for joining us this evening for our broadcast and chat. It's been a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you so much for joining us for this broadcast and chat, part of NJSO at Home. Innovative digital content on the NJSO's website and social media channels, including couch concert videos featuring NJSO musicians performing from home, audio recordings from concert performances like the one you just heard tonight, fun family content like our Carnival of the Animals video series, features on our youth orchestra, and educational videos from our musicians. Stay tuned to our website and all of our social channels for more exciting content. Thanks especially to Vince and Jimmy for joining us for this wonderful conversation and for the phenomenal performance by the New Jersey Symphony Orchestra and Music Director Xian Zhang. In closing, I'd like to remind you that as a nonprofit organization, the NJSO relies on the generosity of its supporters. We can only continue our essential work in New Jersey communities with your help. If you have not yet done so, please do consider making a donation to the NJSO today at support.njsymphony.org. With your continued support, the NJSO will be with you virtually till we can come together in person again.